First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And shout out to Yakim that's out there in the four quarters of the earth, risking your lives to go out here and teach, while we're in a place that's not always going to be receiving us. We're still making way by going on to at least the internet, If you live in small places like I do, where it's nothing but Edomites around, so you might be able to only use the unicorn, better known as the World Wide Web. Lots of things are going on, but, we come out here and teach because, we're teaching to the lost sheep of Israel, blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, waking them up to their nationality, that, no, they're not these bywords, they are in fact Israelites, and that this has really been a war that these sons of Cain, better known as the Edomites, have waged war on us, and that's why we're impoverished and we can never get out from it. That's why they have a perpetual hatred towards us, and we're doing the best that we can to bring that out. And then you have confusion of faces, people that look like the other nations but really aren't, because of course we were discontinued from our heritage, so we started, taking on the customs and becoming just like the other nations. Thus we became Gentiles, because we were outside Israel, because that's what Gentile means. But then we were coming back into the light, which that's what Paul the Apostle was talking about, the Benjamite, And so, right now, live, GMS Vegas is doing a really good sit-down. If we, are under the new covenant, then why aren't we back in our land? Well, there we go, The reason why we're not back in our land, well, Daniel had talked about this because the end hasn't come yet. The end of Esau's reign has not come yet, But, and I'm sure that their sit-down's really good, but it made me think about Daniel chapter 9, and, when he had talked about the 70 weeks, which, to me, I believe it's talking about the 70 years, after Yahushai was here. Because that's what makes the most sense when reading this, And, so I'm just going to kind of bring that out. Of course, Donald Trump has also pretty much, now saying that, now we're going to go ahead and renegotiate with North Korea, when he's seen that North Korea had destroyed, some of their weapon building facilities, So he flip-flops on the subject. That's because, as well as I do, that the United States was really never going to attack until they had disarmed. So by Kim Jong-un disarming, destroying his factories, the United States is going to attack him, because that's exactly what they did to Libya, And Donald Trump said that he was going to assassinate him just like he did with Muammar Gaddafi. That it would be totally what he did to Muammar Gaddafi. So he's already foreshadowed the whole thing. We all know that this is all a political agenda. Of course it is. Agenda 2030, to take out smaller world powers and bring them all into one superpower, And while that's going on, of course, the EU is looking for a better world leader. They're looking to Vladimir Putin, because they're sick of the United States. They're sick of the whore, Babylon the Great. So, they had built this beast. The beast had built the whore up, but now the whore has taken upon herself, to dictate everything. And it's like, wait a minute. Are we under the dictatorship of the United States? That's talking about the Iran nuclear deal with a P5+1, So the +1, the whore, backed out of the deal, And they're sick of this place. And of course, like everything else, though, we know we're not back in the land. We know that Esau hasn't come to his end, but Daniel told us in chapter 9, verse 23, when Yahushai was here, verse 23, at the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved, therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for the iniquity. Who could do this? Only Yahushai, the Son of the Most High. and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in an everlasting righteousness, because we were never righteous, because we had broken all the laws. You know, only one could be righteous. Only one could sacrifice himself. That's Yahweh Shai. And to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to sent the most holy. Again, you know, this is talking about Yahweh Shai. Know therefore and understand from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Mashiach, the prince, shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Again, you know, this is talking about the Most High, you know, when he returns. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. You know, again, you know, this is talking about 70 AD and particularly when this had happened. Not for himself and thy people, the prince shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Now, this is when we had gone out into the Saharas, you know, when Jerusalem had been captured, you know, by the Edomites. The Edomites had done this. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. You know, who makes treaties? Who makes covenants and then breaks them? Esau, the so-called white man, the same Roman Empire. And in the midst of the week shall cause the sacrifice of the oblation to cease. You can read about this more in 1 Maccabees chapter 1. The iPhone I'm reading from does not have the Apocrypha on there, you know, because I'm really outdated. This is only the iPhone 4, and you can't even get the apps because you have to have the newer system. So I do apologize for that, but you can read more about it in 1 Maccabees chapter 1. And shall cause the sacrifice of oblation to cease for the overspreading of abominations, that is, when they started eating swine and bringing in all these unholy sacrifices. You know, pretty much the sacrifice was done away with, and they brought in swine, and they started eating abominable foods. And the overspreading of abominations shall make it desolate even until the consummation, and the determined shall be poured upon the desolate. You know, and again, you know, that's when we were officially Gentiles, because you know, it was so bad that we were purposely putting foreskin on our penises just to become Gentiles. This is how far away we had been driven. You know, we once were circumcised, now we're purposely making ourselves uncircumcised by, you know, those that were already circumcised were doing that just so they could become. So that explains why confusion of faces would come, you know, and everything else, that we became the other nations, because thus, therefore, we were no longer in the Holy Land. The place had been pretty much became an abomination, you know, eating swine and all those things, you know, so, of course, we lost our heritage. We were discontinued from our heritage, you know, and Yahweh Shai told us to go flee in the mountains, and we did that, into the Sahara, you know. But he is making a new covenant, but the new covenant will not fully be implemented until Yahweh Shai returns and we are brought back to the land. So, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and that's what's happening now. These fake-ass Jews are there in Ashdod, which is another term for the Holy Land. You know, because you cannot call it Israel, even though they try to use that name because they've stolen our identity. It's really, the way the Most High sees it, it's Ashdod, because we're not there. So therefore, Israel, we're scattered among the nations, and it is the Most High himself that has to gather us back, the Son of Man. Yahweh Shai has to gather us back and bring us back, because he was the only one that ever could. We were never holy enough. We couldn't keep the covenant, you know, on our own. But now, we are coming back to law, statutes, and commandments. We're going to stop eating swine. We're going to stop doing all these things, you know, and we're going to come out here and teach. That's what's been happening. You know, it's been happening for almost 40 years now. You know, this thing really kicked off between 1969 and 1970, you know, when it was one west. And, well, Great Millstone kept it. Kept everything, you know. And it is Great Millstone that also teaches you about confusion of faces, how I got into this, how I figured out that I was an Israelite. Because everything that the prophets were saying on the streets when I was watching the videos, I'm like, that's right, that's true. There was no denying it. So I had the Spirit to receive this. That's how I started figuring it out. And then I started watching some other channels like GMS Great Waters was now Great Waters 3. And I saw that there were confusion of faces there. Even GMS Toronto, it seems to be a confusion of face there. I believe, though, that he is fully, I believe, Tribe of Issachar. But either way, though, I saw that people that looked like me were teaching. So I then learned about what the confusion of faces are. Was brought into this truth because I knew what they were speaking on the streets was true, absolutely true, could not be denied. I never would have gotten these answers that I was looking for when I was in the so-called Christian church. I wasn't taught the Bible, was taught Christianity, which differs with everything that we've been taught. Pretty much this word, the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kadash, disagrees with everything that we've been taught. Many have stated it. Even Rick Wiles of True News Christian Radio says, I think we've read the Bible wrong. I think we need to reread it. So reiterating everything else, it is my belief that there are those confusion of faces that are still out there because, again, we were a scattered nation. And so I believe that they're still stuck within Christianity, but they're like, wait a minute, this is not adding up. A lot of us are coming out of Christianity and now starting to see that this is not turning out the way that we've been told it would, And so, to keep this illusion going, of course, they're talking about a third temple. But the third temple is really built upon the people. We are that new Jerusalem. We are that new covenant. The new covenant is when Yahushua restores us and brings us back to the land. We will eventually be brought back to the land. So I hope this has been edifying. Like everything else, keep proclaiming this while we still can, while we still have the unicorn, because they are shutting this shit down very quickly. I've had my channel shut down. GMS Sharamoth, his extra channel, Sharamoth Ba. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but either way, that channel got shut down. So I was subscribed to both, so I already had GMS Sharamoth. Got shut down. Why? Because we exposed false flags. We exposed what the crisis actors were and everything else, just like I did with my videos, and my channels were shut down. Anything that has truth, they want to shut it down. Because Esau's been exposed on every point. He's been confounded by this truth. The fact that we're proclaiming this truth and we're coming back to who we are means that Esau's been confounded. He has been made bare. And so I hope this has been edifying, and like everything else, we know we have no business celebrating Esau's wickedness, his so-called feast days, holidays. And so what are we going to do on things like this? We're going to go out and teach it. We're going to eat this roll. We're going to eat this roll. And we're going to practice it. So I hope this has been edifying, and shalom, barakatah to all you out there.